So, but it's not like how many 24-hour podcasts have you done ever in your life?
Yeah, we'll get it sorted for the next one.
We'll forget for the next one, yeah.
Okay.
But for now,
let's get Nick Rado on, eh?
Nick Rado, man.
Okay. Here we go. Diddly call. Oh, this is so exciting. He just rejects us, eh? He's just like, nah.
Oh, didn't you guys hear? I just don't want to anymore.
Didn't you hear I hate you? Hey, Nick, how are you?
Hey, mate, you good, thanks. How you doing?
Good. Hey, I can hear you loud and clear, mate. So you're here with Dylan and Kels?
Oh, nice.
And the fine people on the YouTube streaming.
Mm.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, how are you, man?
Yeah, really good, mate. How are you guys?
Yeah.
We good, except for a few technical issues which are driving us a bit insane.
We are looking pantsless right now. We clearly, but this is our first time, so it's all audio at the moment.
Yep.
But But it's been, it's fine. No one. We released that first video on Facebook about a few weeks ago with the first batch of guests. Like yourself was one of them, and I think that's enough that they need to see of us. To be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how you agreed so quickly. By the way, like, thank you. Like, yeah.
That's all good, man. No worries at all.
So Nick, earlier in the show, we were singing your praises and your resume, which is pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive.
You're a very talented person. You do a lot of things. Look at a lot of fingers and a lot of pies.
You do a lot of things.
Yeah.
But
been burnt a lot as well with those fingers. But but it's all good.
Nicely put,
but I was saying, I've said on an earlier podcast, you're one of my favourite New Zealand comedians, and because my first ever real gig, you emceed it and was so genuinely nice to me when I was a bit of a nervous wreck that I was just like, this is my new favourite person in the world.
Oh, no worries.
So
it's always a nerve-wracking time starting, and it's also the hardest thing is keep going. So I always want people to, if they've had enough courage to get to that level where they want to do it, then it's so easy not to do it again. It is so easy not to do it again. But if you can muster up even just half the amount of courage to get back up again, it's a bit of a metaphor for life, really. But it's if you can do it in comedy, you can do it in life as well, which I guess is what we're talking about today with Gumboot Friday.
Yeah, that's it. And I don't know about you, but like me as a comedian, I know Kels and a lot of my friends here, like comedy is our therapy. You know what I mean? Like this is how we stay normal and amongst the world as we get on stage and we make people laugh and that somehow justifies our existence for a little bit longer. Do you find that's the same for you? Like, is that an itch sometimes you got to go scratch and just to get on stage and be there?
Yeah, I think so, for sure. Definitely the lockdown and COVID sort of tested that. And it was kind of, it was, and it made me more appreciative of stand up and it kind of I do some journaling now and which I have been doing for maybe the last year and a half and that's really helped. But comedy is kind of like that. It's like journaling everything that goes down, and I find that my life is like my comedy, my jokes on stage about my life is about maybe 9 months to a year behind my actual life. So I find like it takes me that long to sort of process it and also find the funniness in it as well. Like you sometimes you're just writing stuff down and it's a bit of a rant and it's a bit of a whatever. But then when you look back at it and you're not so close to it, then you can make jokes about it and laugh about it, and then also and trust that other people have gone in it. So I just went overseas, went to America. I just come back maybe 10 days ago, I think it was. So I did a comedy special over there for a company called Dry Bar Comedy. And they're quite big on Facebook. If you go into like just Facebook or YouTube or wherever, they've got like, I don't know, maybe 7.6 million followers, I guess, on the different on Facebook, and I think I got a couple of million on YouTube and stuff. And so I've just done a special for them. What I realized, I was very nervous because I'd never done a stand up. I hadn't done stand up in America in a long time. I think 2007 was the last time I did it, and I was very new. I was only like maybe a year into doing stand up, and I wasn't doing it very well. And so I had no made no reference point as to how my jokes were going to go over there.
Yeah.
And so what I'm leading to and what I'm driving towards now is that the stuff that we talk about in little old New Zealand and what we're going through at the moment is actually quite universal. Like the jokes hit just as hard, if not harder, in America.
Did that surprise you, mate? Like,
did it
take you back when you're like, wow, it lands here too? Like,
so it was all good. So, but that was a great experience, and it is a bit of therapy for us all. But at the same time, if other people can sort of laugh at potentially our things, then that's good too, you know.
Yeah.
So you're saying a year into doing stand-up comedy, you were actually went over to America to carry on over there. Was that part of the process for you? Like, was that deliberate?
Sorry, mate, you're just very quiet there. I couldn't hear you. That's all right.
That's funny because it's really loud in my headphones.
Yeah. All right.
Really loud.
Is it any better, Nick?
My eardrums.
Go again.
Is it any better?
What about myself? Because that's even louder.
You're fine. But
it just changed about a minute ago. It was really, really loud in my headphones right now. But,
so what he asked was a year into. So what you're saying is a year into comedy, you popped over to America. Was that?
Oh.
Was that like an intentional thing? Or was that just like, let's just go try this out?
Oh, so that was basically, I was coming home for like a wedding or something. Because I started my career in the UK. So so I started, and my first ever gig was at the Bath Comedy Cavern in the UK, in England. And I lived in Bristol for like, maybe 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
But and then I came back into New Zealand around, I think end of 2010, 2011. And I was just coming back, and so I had just been doing it. Listen, when I say two years, I think I did like maybe 14 or maybe 16 gigs in those 2 years. It wasn't that much.
Yeah.
And so for me to even say that it was a horrendous experience, to be honest, doing the American comedy thing, and that's why I was sort of looking forward to going back, because it was a bit of a a personal mission to kind of go, okay, I'm going to try and win them back. So, but it went really well, and got a standing ovation in the second show, second record, which is very American.
Yeah.
And I actually told them to sit down. So it was very Kiwi response to me. Yeah, exactly. We're too humble. But it was such a cool experience, but it's driven me to keep going and to write the next hour, which I was doing just before I was chatting to you guys.
Yeah.
So,
oh wow. Wow. What is your writing process like? I know for me.
Thank you. Yes.
If I'm gonna, like, the last hour I did was just sort of like, because I've done 2-hour shows, and the first one was themed, and so that was a lot easier to write for, because you're focusing around one thing. And the second one was more just a free-flowing sort of thing. So what's your, like, when you want to write a new hour, what's sort of your process?
So I write as much as I can in my notes. So, like, just little things, like, I'm just going over some stuff now. So there's, like, headlines like midday drinking. And so I didn't really know what to do with that. And then so I write it all down. And then so when I come to actually write, I've got like little notes and little things to go off. Like I've got this idea about how at the moment, what's this? Like kind of dieting, being healthy. That's kind of all the trend at the moment. But it's kind of like, I've just got little bits of it on that, and I've got how I've got a note about mums are always prepared. Like you never see, like it's when people are lost in the in the forest or whatever, or or tramping or whatever, it's always like young people or dudes. It's never like a mum of 3 trapped in the woods, because she's always prepared and she's always got stuff going on, whereas we're out there with jandals and a drink bottle and stuff. And so I just got these little notes, and then when I come down to write, like physically write for about an hour and a half, I normally set my time to. I've got then like a starting point. And so, for example, the drinking at midday thing today has now turned into people tell me, so people often complain to me, like, that's under the health and well-being situation, people always say how important sleep is, how they can't sleep at the moment. They've tried everything to sleep, and I'm like, well, have you tried having a wine at midday? Because I guarantee you will be at bed by 6 p.m. And so it's kind of like and it's just sort of carrying on from that, and then sort of once you've got that going on, then you then can jump off and then go, all right, well then you've got it. So what happens next? I go, oh well, I got to go pick up my kids from the kindergarten. So what's being drunk at the kindergarten feel like, or sound like, or is there funny stuff in that? And so I sort of then start sort of becoming stretching out the joke in that way. But then what I like to do is I like to tell sort of observational funny stories. So then if I can tell a funny story about my family or about me or about whatever, then all of a sudden I've got this bit that can suddenly go within a story that gags up the story, that makes the story even funnier. And so so that's sort of how I approach it. But in terms of physically writing, like actually writing, I get a thing from John Cleese, who says you need an hour and a half. You only need an hour and a half writing a day. And don't do any less, but don't do any more. He said, because it's like half an hour is for you to go, why am I writing? I should be doing the shopping list. Then or cleaning the room or whatever. And then the second half an hour for you to go, I'm rubbish. Why am I doing this? I've got nothing, absolutely nothing. And then the third half hour is like, oh, there's something here. And then any time after that, you kind of get a bit tired. And so you kind of then you sort of put tools down, put the, whatever, however you write down. And then you, and then throughout the day or the rest of the evening or whenever you've decided to do that, going on a walk or whatever, the ideas and the jokes will percolate, and you'll just go, oh yeah, maybe if I change that phrasing, or oh, that opens up a whole new world of whatever. And then you just sort of, you go back into your thing and you write for maybe 5 or 10 more minutes, but you don't actually sit down and then like do another whole session, you just sort of, tweak it and write down the ideas, so that when you come down the next day to write, then you've got more to go on, and then you've got, suddenly you're drunk at a kindergarten, and that's and that's all becoming from having a beer at midday and being a bit sleepy, and so it's that's how I do it, that's how I write, and I feel like that's the way that works best for me. Other people will have different ways, but I just think that it's something, I need something achievable, and I need something that is, because I'm a bit of both. I'm very rigid with my writing, but also I'm quite improvisational as well, so I kind of like need to sort of go for a walk and have a little think on it, so but that's it, that's pretty much it, that's what I do.
That's really cool. Hey, one of the things I wanted to ask you about is candles. So you put out an album. You put out a comedy album, which is such a cool thing to do. Like, it's something that I guess nowadays with we don't have music shops anymore, so you can't just go down and sort of buy an album anymore. But to put out an album is something that's pretty cool, especially a comedy album, which is like, that takes me back to being young and like being at my dad's and putting on the Fred Dagg cassette tape. Do you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
It sort of harks me back to that sort of era, and how much I enjoyed that comedy, where you would sit back, and enjoy, like a 60-minute sort of album. So you did that, but you also put out some candles with it. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so how that album came about, so I got a deal, I got a comedy deal on Australian television in 2019, before COVID, I think, maybe even been 2020. It was just before COVID hit, and I was going to move the whole family over, and I didn't, and our 4-bedroom house was in the middle of the ocean as COVID hit, and we had to come back. Deal was off, I couldn't go to Sydney anymore, but we'd sold our house, and we're in a bit of a pickle, to be honest. And so COVID wasn't our friend. And then, so that was sort of in maybe, obviously, the March 2020. And then in around August, September, I was communicating with a New York comedian friend of mine who I used to gig with in Hong Kong of all places, and the Hong Kong Comedy Festival, and he had just released an album on this through Comedy Dynamics, and who are a big sort of distributor of comedy albums, and they have really tight connections with a place called Sirius XM, which is a big digital streaming radio stations and stuff. And
it's the enemy of podcasts, but we won't hold it against them.
Yeah. And then so he said, I'll give you the email to this guy, and there's no guarantee that he'll get back. In fact, he said don't expect a reply because he is notorious for not getting back to people. So I just sent what I thought would be a cool album away of just a show that I did on my voice memos. Of an hour I did maybe a couple of weeks before. Anyway, I can't remember when it was, but and he came back to me and he says, we'd love to do an album with you, and because of COVID, can you record it in New Zealand? And so I was like, okay, cool. And so I recorded it in Mapua Playhouse in Nelson.
Oh, cool.
And it was so I've recorded that, and so all right, so here's another little story. I don't know how much time we've got, but I'll squeeze it in. But I was about to record my album, and the people in LA, they pay for the audio engineer for you to go do it. And so they sorted this from LA. They sorted this person out, and they gave me this name of this person, and they go, this is going to be your audio engineer for your album, and this is all good. Anyway, so I Google the guy's name, and the only thing that comes up is of this person's name is a con man by the same name, and who tried to basically he went around New Zealand, and he did like a Catch Me If You Can type thing where he'd stolen a New Zealand flight school checkbook, and he was going around New Zealand, and he was basically staying in hotels and hiring fancy rental cars and all that kind of stuff off this dodgy checkbook. And I was like, oh man, it can't be the same guy surely. And then so I ended up meeting him, and sure enough, it's the same guy. And so I'm like, oh no. And I was like, maybe I'm in for second chances and, that kind of stuff. But I was like going, what if he just doesn't know what he's doing? And so I started asking him a few questions. And he's like, yep, I can do this. I can do this. And I said, well, how are you going to mic the audience? He says, oh, I'm just going to put loads of microphones on the tables of the thing. And then I just got these alarm bells. I said, dude, you do not do that, because you're going to have like glasses putting down. You're going to have people chatting at whatever. You're going to pick up the wrong things. You just want to get the ambience of it, not the specific. It's not like a movie getting a Foley artist to, pick up the individual sounds of the crowd. And so alarm bells came 2 days out from the special, an American special. I've got to change the audio engineer. I've got to get something. Anyway, find somebody else, and he was amazing. The album went really well. But during that process of releasing the album, and it's in America, and you can listen to it on Spotify, it's called On Trend. But during that process, I was chatting to this the audio engineer, the new one, like going, oh, how I'd like to sell CDs or DVDs or merchandise. And then he sort of saw my stuff, and then he's like, oh, why don't you do like funny, like something from your actual set? And I was like, oh, okay, that could be quite cool. And then at the time, my wife was making these candles, and I did this. One of the biggest hitting jokes on the thing was about my wife spending so much money on scented candles. And so what about if we did scented candles as merch for the thing? And it ended up going really well, and now I go around and I sell candles along with my album, and I've got all these really funny, like, quirky scented candles, like we've got the I'm Fine candle, which you light when everything's not fine, and and the good news about it is that it's got a 50-hour burn time, so by the time you get down to the bottom, you can find out what you did wrong and stuff like that. So we just do like little jokes like that throughout it, and it enables me to sell merchandise
that's cool.
and the album, but because the problem is my album is just a link. And so it's kind of like people want a tangible thing to to purchase. So I've got these little sort of almost business drop card type things that go along with the candle. So they pay, you know, $20 or $30 for the candle and the album. And and they get to take home and they get to light the candle and listen to the album. And it's a pretty funny, different way of selling a comedy album, I guess.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, man. That's pretty cool. Hey, it's been awesome to talk to you, man. Like, I always love.
No worries, man.
I always love talking to you. And nickrado.com, is that the right place if people want to go find out more about you?
Yep. Yeah, nickrado.com, and my album, my Dry Bar comedy special, will be out next year, and it's going to be broadcast all around the world, but mainly in America and so on and so forth. So go check that out. Go check out On Trend on Spotify, and then other than that, follow me, Nick Rado Comedian, on Instagram, and that's it, mate.
Awesome. Hey,
Happy
man.
Gumboot Friday.
Yeah, thanks. And like I said, it's always been a pleasure to talk to you. It's always been a pleasure getting to do gigs with you, which is really cool. Hopefully we'll get you back in Palmy to do some more soon.
Will do, mate. Writing on the new stuff as we speak. So Palmy is definitely on the list.
Love it.
All right.
Hey, thanks for your time, Nick.
Cheers, team.
All
See you guys soon.
See ya.
Bye.
Cheers.
Okay, so as you can see, we're now joined with Morgan Hunter-Bell because Kels had to go pee-pee.
Yeah, and as is inevitable in this 24-hour scenario.
Yeah.
I was not prepared to come in right now. I've been watching the live stream, checking that everything actually works. Of course,
really cool.
we haven't been able to figure out getting people's video patched in.
No.
I've been doing a couple test runs in the background. Not sure what's going on there.
Yeah, it's really strange because we tested it out last night and it worked a bloody treat.
Yeah, it was great.
So I'm not too sure what's going on with this. And basically, we're just not getting notifications that they're coming in.
Right.
So it's so strange. We're just not told that there's someone waiting in the queue. But we're going to get that worked on. In the meantime, our next guest has arrived in the studio. He's currently chilling out in the recliner, just being his cool, normal self, his fucking bomb diggity self. And we'll get him on in just a few seconds. But in the meantime, so this has been really cool so far. So we've had.
It's been a fun show.
Yeah, I know, right? It's almost the longest show we've ever done so far, on an hour 54. So that's really cool. So we've had Alexander Sparrow, we've had Paul Whatuira. How cool is Paul Whatuira, man?
Yeah, I'm not a league guy, I'm not a sports guy, but that was cool, man. It was a great interview.
As I said to Kels when he first told me, Paul Whatuira is one of the few league names I know.
Right.
Like him, Stacey Jones,
John Hopewadi.
John Hopewadi. There's a few more I know.
Now, he's a big men's health advocate, I believe. He does prostate checks on the field.
Wow.
That's all I know about it.
Yeah. But what a cool dude, Paul Whatuira. I'd love to get him back on and just talk to him more about not league. Maybe we talk about union.
I mean, sure.
Katie Boyle, as always,
tremendous.
Her charming self, and Nick Rado. And our next guest in a few minutes is going to come on, and he is Callum Wagstaff, and he is the runner-up in the Raw Comedy Quest, which I'm infinitely jealous of because I never even got to the finals.
And you were in Auckland during your Raw season.
Auckland, yeah. And
you didn't have the barriers that so many of us did here in Palmy up until recently.
I know one year I was kept out because of Suzanne Paul. That's all I'll say.
Was she a judge, or did you offend people who are fans of her that were judges?
No, I went head-to-head with her.
She was a contestant?
Yeah, so...
Okay.
I did I think it was my first year of... So when you do it in Auckland, you can only do it twice.
Right.
Right? The rest of the country, you can do it 3 times, unless you get through to the finals. So the first year... I can't remember if it was the first or second year. I think it was the first year I did it. Suzanne Paul wanted to do it. You know Suzanne Paul is like, we're all talking the same language here.
Yeah.
And so she's
natural glow.
Natural glow. Suzanne Paul was like, I'm going to do my new career as stand-up comedy.
There was someone similar to that in last year's Rockquest.
Yeah, well...
Similar energy.
So I'm like, cool. And I got to meet her, and she was... She was lovely. It's like she's a really nice person. Like,
yeah, I bet.
She's a really nice person and genuinely funny.
Yeah,
like, she's genuinely funny, so I'm on the same heat as her,
right?
And I was about to go. This is how lovely she is. She's a lovely person. I was about to go on, and I think she was after me, and my nose was running.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, bloody hell, I've got a runny nose. And not like it's a bit runny and if I snort it up, it was like coming out runny, like water. And and she's like, oh, I can't do her accent, you know. She's like, hold on. And she goes in a person, she pulls out wads of tissues like a real mum. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if she's got kids or not, but like a real mum. She's got tissues in the bag. She's like, here you are, love. And I blew my nose and I was like, oh, thank you saved my life. And I went down and did the gig and came back. And then she went and did hers and came back. And we chatted for a bit afterwards. And she was really, really lovely. And then when they announced the winners, she got through.
Mm.
So I didn't think, I was like, okay, cool, whatever. It's only, you know, I'll try again next year. And I remember going back and talking to the booker, Scott. And I was like, hey, man, thanks for letting me do this. You know, it was real cool.
Yeah, cool.
And I was like, any feedback? He was like, he's like, to be honest, it was between you and her.
Wow.
For the, like, another guy was on and he was amazing and clearly the first, because 2 people from each heat go through.
Yeah.
So he was like, he was clearly him. And he was like, it was honestly between you 2.
Wow.
And he didn't say it, but I kind of get the hint that, like, she brings a crowd.
Yeah, like it's good to have a name that big on what is otherwise an amateur competition. Like, that's crazy.
Well, put it this way: when she was there was a camera crew.
Right. And was Anthony Ray Parker there hanging in the wings?
Oh, God. If so, I would have loved that. I would have been like,
guess who's coming to comedy?
I would have been like, does Keanu Reeves smell nice? Because I really actually want to know that. Because it looks like he does. So she brought a TV crew who filmed it for the news.
Right.
So I'm like, fair call, Scott. Yeah. You know, like, she brings the media. I just brought, like, my mum, you know, like Jen, and my mum, you know, like that was about the extent of it. So
yeah, and they can barely run a boom mic.
Yeah. I mean, my mum especially, because she's only about 4 foot.
Yeah.
So
get you right in the chest with that mic.
She keeps like, I'm like, oh, come on, mum, lift, mama, lift. So yeah, we've got a few messages come through. Morgan said he's a huge Katie Boyle fan.
Yeah. Someone claimed to be the biggest fan. I'm not going to contest that. I don't know them, but I'm also a huge Katie Boyle fan, and always enjoy hearing from her or hanging out, seeing her on shows. Tremendous every way.
Katie said that she was meant to be doing stuff, but now she's hooked on the podcast. Bless you, Katie.
Shouts out, Katie.
Yeah, and Carl loves the Hopawati prostate.
Yeah, Carl's a character. We'll see him tomorrow morning, right?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking to Carl. I really like him, so he's a good bro. So I think we're going to be joined by Callum Wagstaff now. Are you good to come on?
Yeah. Do you want me to swap out or?
No, stay there, bro.
All right.
Stay there. No. Sit on that one. And can we see you? Oh, we might have to zoom out the cam a bit.
Yeah. If you come around here.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll shimmy along.
And we'll get him in. And I'll zoom out just a touch.
Yeah.
I'll do this and you do that? Okay.
Yeah, that's the rotation.
What kind of, about that distance?
Yeah, you're good, mate.
Is that comfy?
That's lovely.
Cool.
You're on.
Track 3, cool. That sounds all right.
So we're all here. Hey, Callum, how are you, man?
Very good. Thank you, Dylan. Thank you, Morgan. Great to be here. How's it going? You guys tired yet?
I mean, I took today off work to sleep in preparation of all this.
Yeah.
I didn't sleep in. I got shit sleep. I tell you what happened is, so we've got puppies.
Oh, yeah.
I saw.
That my dogs made, and I fucking can't stand them. But we've also got 2 dogs, and one of them, for some reason, in the last week, has decided just to randomly start barking all night. And we don't know why. Like, we tried putting him out, we tried giving him water, we make sure he's fed, you know what I mean? Like, he should be, but he's not. He's just barking all night.
I mean, we are just on the other side of the spooky season. Do you think he's been haunted?
I think it's a midlife crisis. I think he's got a crisis of masculinity.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that is part of what we're talking about today. Is toxic masculinity in dogs.
Oh, of course, yeah, feeds into. There's a bit of mental health links there. Yeah.
So he fucking woke me up about 5 times. I was just so angry about it, and then I didn't sleep in. But anyway, how are you, bro?
Really good. I just did want to ask. Hopefully, no one else has asked this already. But how are you guys going to manage the 24-hour energy?
Well, I've got my lemon water.
Okay.
Which is I'm going for the vitamin C path.
Oh, no one's doing Monster, are they?
Not yet.
No.
We didn't reach out to Jake or Nathaniel, whose identities revolve around that at different times.
No, I think just. Oh well, I said to Kels the other day that if I get tired, he'll just have to give me a hand job, which is what I'm going to go for.
I don't know. Those tend to put me to sleep.
Yeah.
Anyway,
each to their own, right?
No, I think it's just stimulation and fun. You know?
Oh, yeah.
I think that's what it's going to be. I think Gish is going to come in like 3 a.m.
Oh yeah, that'll keep you up. Yeah.
Yeah. So that should do the job. But it's a challenge, and we're doing it for the kids. You know what I mean? Like we're doing it for the Gumboot. And just a reminder, in the corner, I did it really well this time. Right here is the scanny for to donate. So that's really cool.
Jerry shots fired on me. Come on, man.
Oh man.
Is he going to be on?
Jerry, we can sort him out. So, Callum, man, I've got a million things to talk to you about. Like,
let's go. Let's hit it.
I was really excited to have you on because you're like a fascinating person. But first, let's talk about the Raw Comedy Quest. So, last weekend,
yes, yeah,
you ventured up to Auckland a few days earlier, of course, and you did a few gigs while you were there.
I did, yep. Yeah. I was bombing my ass off the whole time. I was just dying in Auckland, again and again. Yeah.
Jesus. Which reflects my comedy career in Auckland. And so then you go to the Q Theatre and you're in that lineup is really huge.
It was at the Classic.
Oh, was it at the Classic?
Yeah, we did it at the Classic,
Oh, bummer.
Well, it's my first time at the Classic, so
that's still cool. It's a cool venue.
I have seen that Q Theatre, though, and I was a little sad to miss out, yeah.
Yeah, oh, well. Look, I never got to the Q either, so...
What's up, Siobhan?
What's up, Siobhan? And
shouts out to the chat.
So you go in, and there's like 12 people in the lineup.
Yep.
Roughly, and it's huge. And who emceed?
We had Tony Lyle.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Awesome. Tony's a good guy.
Yep.
And so you go through. You're like third on the lineup.
Second
on the lineup. Yeah. And you go out, you do your thing. How were you received? How do you feel the audience received you?
So on the night, all the mongrels came out, luckily for me, and it was really good. So the whole week before, everyone had been freezing up. A lot of my comedy sort of gets a little bit dark, like cheekily dark, but still I have those gigs where I ice the audience right from the start and no one's on board. But I got lucky because Keegan Governed was the MC for the Friday Late Show.
Yeah.
He's a big guy with a big voice, big energy. And just because of that, I had to come up that night to meet his energy. Yeah. And that ended up being what clicked me into place and made the stuff hit. And then I did that again Saturday and scored myself a second. Yeah.
Nice. That's really awesome. So now I'm reliving this through you. That's why I'm asking so many questions. So like you do your thing. The crowd's going mental. You come backstage and they're chanting your name essentially. They're like, Callum, and then so you're backstage and you're like, follow that motherfuckers, and you drop the mic back there.
That's how I recall it.
That's how it went in my head. Is you walk backstage and picked up another mic and we're like, boom.
Because he's respectful. He knows not to drop the live mic.
No, that's not right. And so you go through, there's like 4 people or whatever after you, there's a break, there's another 6 people, and then I'm guessing some of the judges come up and they're like, and we're the judges. Who judged, do you know?
Paul Douglas.
Oh, brilliant. Paul's pretty cool. Yeah.
He's the one I remember because...
He's the one who came out on stage.
Yeah, and he was with us on Wednesday. And I'm so sorry I've forgotten the other 2, but I didn't meet them personally. Yeah,
they're irrelevant. And so Paul Douglas comes out and he's like, and the winner is not Callum. It doesn't matter who won because they're not here. And then they're like, and the runner. Oh, did they do the runner-up first?
Yeah,
they did like highly commended Summer Shah, runner-up Callum Wagstaff, and then winner Hawani Hotene.
Yeah.
Oh, Hawani.
Shout out to Hawani,
Sorry,
by the
Hawani.
way.
Yeah.
We're not
Dylan's only
going to play the
disrespecting you because he
disparage.
didn't realize it was you.
Yeah, I forgot. And I actually really like Hawani. He's
Yeah, it's tremendous.
Absolutely.
tremendous.
I've got no problem
No.
losing out to Hawani. He's a great
100%.
talent. Yeah.
So they say your name, and like, do you shit your pants? Like, what's the go? Like, how are you? How did that impact you? Did you do a double take? You were like, no, what?
Yeah, a little bit. So because I'd written myself off from dying awful deaths all week in Auckland, I thought, all right, I'll just do my best. And when I finished the set, and it was a good set, and I felt that, and I was like, cool, I can walk away from this, no regrets. I left everything out there.
Yeah.
Whatever happens.
You know you did your best.
Yeah, but it was a massive surprise to hear my name at all.
Just how you got to that in the dance in the first place, going into every heat.
Constantly thinking I'm
And the one
a
that
sack of
counts
poo, and then
Yeah.
Absolutely. in
getting
line.
surprised. Yeah.
That's really cool. And did you party after?
A little bit. I am. I'm a kidney kid, so
Yeah,
my
yeah,
a
we'll
lot
get to
of
that.
drinks.
I was going to ask you, what does he mean by a little bit? When you
So in terms of alcohol, you mean?
well, when he said, did you party? You said a little bit.
Yeah.
What was define the Callum's a little bit?
So
Party.
one beer and one tequila shot. That was
Nice. That's a good
moderate, nice, well balanced.
Yeah.
well balanced spirit.
Yeah, that was my breakfast. I was on. Yeah.
And were the beer the chaser, or was it?
No, one beer on its own, and then before I left, I had to do a shot, or else I wasn't allowed out of the classic. Yeah.
Okay, so there was a reluctant. The beer. You were good with the beer.
It wasn't reluctant. It wasn't.
Yeah.
I was on board. Yeah.
Nice.
Very celebratory. Tequila.
Yeah.
Tequila is my worst alcohol.
Thank you. Everyone's got that
yeah.
list.
Yeah. that's
Mine's
my most
Karuba.
spewy.
Tequila's 1 and Karuba's 2.
Yeah. I'm with you there.
Brown tequila.
Last time I was on tequila was in the house.
Jose Cuervo.
We had a Mexican night, and I was so sick that night.
Was it? Yes.
I was so sick. My
For me,
wife
it's
made
the
that.
it's the tequila, and
Sultan.
some people maybe in Nelson might know purple guanas.
Of
course,
They're,
mate. Go on, fella, yes.
They're also a rough one for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
The purple spew at 2 a.m. was
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
oh god. I got it. Funny enough, it's funny you say purple guanas because I kid you not, like maybe a week ago, my wife was like, "We should get some purple guanas."
You're
And I was like-
it hasn't been long enough.
No.
I need more time.
I was like, "That's a bad idea."
Hey Dylan, I was going to say last night, out of all the comedians, the line of the night, and I quote, "I'm sick of doing my award-winning set." How gangster is that? That guy I was like, oh, that's it. Drop the mic or place the mic. That
We
was
just wipe a little tear from my eye.
You know, I was like, yes, I can do new material because I'm so sick of doing my award-winning set. Oh, it's such an awesome line. Anyway,
Let's talk about your comedy because like you're. I mean, I guess I can only describe you as an alternative type of comedian.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm down with that. I mean, Hawani. I would describe Hawani as more alternative than
Yeah,
I.
I would agree. And
But he nailed it. Yeah.
Just simply because you do stuff that's a little bit out of the box.
Right. Yeah.
you're very unique to the no one could do it.
Yeah, no one can do it like you.
Yeah.
So, is that sort of like, where does that come from with you? Like, is that sort of like who you feel you are, just turned up a bit, or?
When I first started out, I didn't want to try at all to be anything particular.
Yeah.
And it just came out like that. And then once I got a bit of feedback, and the two things I got was women would come up and tell me, I love how weird you are, and men would come up and say, I love the dark stuff. So I started writing to that, and things got a bit worse when I tried. So I just continued to be.
I'm trying to think back and when your sort of stage walky randomness came about, because I don't think that first time I saw you were pretty well planted and you were like, you know, it's about the
It was once when we had lockdowns and we were stuck on this massive stage that I wanted
it was
to
just
use
because
no
we were in the
matter
Globe
what.
the whole time.
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
like, well, I'm going to use the space.
Yeah.
Your open mic at the Globe sort of was like, "Oh, this- well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that makes sense.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I'm a pub musician.
Yeah.
So when you're there, you get bored like any job, any office job, but to get over it, you strut stages and throw drinks and that kind of thing.
You ask for an extra TV in the rider just so you can hurl it out a window.
Yeah.
It's a 40-minute CRT though, isn't it?
Yeah. What sort of music? Like, what is?
You know, we'd try to avoid the pub music.
Yeah.
Play Wonderwall.
Yeah.
You get that, you're like, oh, yeah.
A little bit, yeah. Oh no, yeah. You get more. You get Slayer. Do some Slayer.
Stewart Human.
Yeah.
Did I see that you've performed in a Tool cover band?
Oh yeah, I do.
I love that.
I
Called
sing.
Shed?
It's called Shed. Yeah. I play the Maynard in a Tool tribute band. Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, it's tremendous.
How long have you been into music? Like, have you always been a musician?
Nah, not really. I don't come from a family that was into music or anything. I think this is kind of my theory on performers of all types, and you guys will be able to pitch in either way. But I reckon growing up as a kid, if you're not good at sports and you're not good at academic stuff,
That's me.
you end up being a performer. I think that's
Yeah.
Yeah, academics held me back from performing for too long.
right.
Because I was just good enough at that they thought that's what I was good at.
Right. Yeah.
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 I would agree. Yeah, I would agree. Like, you drift into it, and it's so funny too because like I failed drama in high school.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the written side of it.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? They're like, write down how you feel, and as we know,
Yeah, it took you until last year to start doing
telling
that.
people how I feel. Like, I used to do a set where I said, I only have two emotions, happy and fucked off. And then I was like, I have to go discover more now. So that's really cool. Tool's actually one of my favourite bands. So,
cool.
In fact, my favourite song, my daughters always ask me this about every once a month. They check in. They're always like, Dad, what's your favourite song? And consistently it's A Perfect Circle, which isn't Tool, but it's so close to Tool.
To be honest,
still
it's
made
my more preferred band with
really?
that guy in it. I like APC more than Tool, yeah.
I love it. And I'm always like, 3 Libras. And they're like, why? I was like, it's just a perfect song. So that's really cool. I love that you're in a Tool. You've done some Tool covering and Shed.
Yeah. I didn't pick the name, I just want to say.
I was going to say, it sounds like a name you wouldn't
and we're
pick.
going to broadcast this on a 24-hour podcast. I want it to be known.
Yeah, you don't want to claim
I didn't
credit for
pick
anything
Shed,
else.
yeah, and every time I say it in my mind, it's like Shed Skin, not Shed
Oh,
Garage.
okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
But it's not. They meant Shed, when they made it. Yeah.
So I really also want to get you on because, as you've already said, like you're a kidney kid.
I am, yeah.
You're one of 2 people I know who are kidney people. The other one, of course, is Richard Dryden as a kidney person. I've had Kels as a kidney person. I'm a kidney person too.
We're all people with kidneys, yeah.
We all have them, but I think we're all problem with kidney issues. We're kidney issue.
Right, yeah.
Some more than others, of course. I'm not gonna say. We're not here to compare kidney sizes here, boys. Shall we all whip them out? So tell us about that. Like you grew up essentially in Starship. Well, you spent time in Starship.
I exaggerate that a lot for
It was
comedic
it
effects.
was a day clinic. Like there was in and out.
One
But
of the posers in the
I was one of the posers in the day ward. No, I was in and out a lot, and at different times in my life, I spent a long time. Probably the longest stint was 5 weeks in one
That's
go.
still quite a while.
Yeah.
5 weeks. I mean, like I spent 5 days in hospital earlier this year, and I was ready to.
6, brother.
It was 6. I was ready to. Like
Pull your hair out.
hurt people.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I was like, come on.
I think it's slightly different from that when you're born in that environment.
That's
like
true.
my girlfriend always criticizes me for this. Might be a man thing, but I'm very minimalist. I like my white walls. Just might be the way I was brought up, or it might be just
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we can't all be Sean with his artwork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a very impressive lounge. Yeah.
So like with your like what was the youngest you went in? Like what was the youngest?
Well, I was born in hospital, Dylan.
I mean, well, yeah,
So basically 1 second.
Yeah.
yeah. You were actually born in. That's impressive.
No, so what happened was my mum was a nurse for background, so she had a little bit of thing, and she had that Karen gene, luckily, or I'd be dead, because they sent her home, and she brought me back when I turned grey, and then they did some stuff. Yeah.
That's turning grey is usually
it's a bad sign. Yeah,
that something's not right. Grey or yellow?
No. See, well, I've done this on stage as well. You're getting confused with liver people, all right?
Oh, right.
Yeah,
and no one cares. They can survive with just a sliver of liver.
Sliver of liver.
Yeah. Whereas kidney people, losing a kidney is almost as bad as losing an organ that you have one of.
And then so you spent you're in and out, like you said, 5 weeks the longest. And what sort of impact did that have on you, like in your life later, or was it like why me, or were you just like, let's just do this?
So as a kid growing up with it, it was very just that's all I knew.
That's all you know, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have these kidney camps where they would put the kids together. I know.
Yeah.
So I also have a bit.
I had three different debilitating organ/disease camps that I went to. That was one of them. Asthma was another camp.
Yeah.
You went to. You rake them in. You got to cash in on these diseases.
Don't get me started on that.
On the asthma camp.
Yeah.
But they encourage morning runs on the beach, and it was in Otaki.
Yeah.
Anyway. I've got ambivalent feelings about the camps. I enjoy all the experiences, but also, I don't know, research money. I don't know. Anyway, I won't go into it. But what was the question?
I can't remember.
I want to know what about these days, though? What about these days?
Oh, that's right. I started off as a kidney kid, normal kid. I didn't notice any difference. Went to the camps, and these other kids there had nephrotic syndrome, which happens to you at some point in your life. So they had been rugby players and things, and then got struck down. And those kids dealt with a lot of mental health issues at younger ages.
Gotcha. Okay.
I got a transplant when I was 14, and that failed when I was 20, and so the huge mental health stuff was from 20 onwards.
Because you
going
can
back
actually
to
understand what's going
really
on,
sick.
right? The gravity.
Yeah.
And I guess as well, like when you go back as a 20-year-old, you have a lot more like knowledge of how bad this could be.
Yeah, you get to think about it for months before it happens. And as the kidney was failing, I would go back to monthly clinics, and the guys would say, "Hey, you got to think about going back on dialysis because if you leave it too late, we can't do it, and it'll be dangerous."
Yeah.
But I wanted to put it off as long as possible.
Yeah.
So my final strategy for it was once I'm so sick that I don't care what you do to me, then you can do it to me.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And
that's it. Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
That's how it went down.
For someone who hasn't been through it, like my grandmother died on dialysis essentially. Like she was on dialysis for as long as I can remember, and she was also on like the she had the little tube and she'd connect the bag to it.
Correct.
Yeah, peritoneal dialysis.
That's it.
Yeah.
So I'm no stranger to it, but it's not exactly like a pleasant experience, is it? Like it's fairly.
It's not usually painful, especially that one.
Yeah.
It can be. But it's not usually.
It's the secondary effects that come with it, like the visits and the constant tests,
and sitting there and
the blunt, just the blunt worst case scenarios. You're just a number in a machine. And you're
that can suck. I think the fatigue loads up over a whole lifetime of doing it.
100%.
Yeah.
I was on it 9 years before I got another transplant at 29.
Yeah.
And it's being tired all the time for years with no reprieve that starts to weigh down on your mental health.
Because that's what I want to know about now. Like right now, sitting here, how are you in terms of your physical health? I mean,
pretty good. Like I'm not super duper, but I'm running quite low for a person, but definitely functional. Kidney function. Yeah. So if a normal person's like 90ish, I'm just under 30, I think.
Wow.
So, which is you can run around like that for a bit. You know?
Yeah, my number's a little bit. Yeah, nice. That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, you're still hopes for the All Blacks, right? I mean, like
nah. Well, I was not one of those kids. That wasn't me, really. Yeah.
I got the old fortnightly creatinine test every fortnight.
Yeah,
just a lazy. Like sometimes I'm like, well, I better go. I got to pump out a lazy 13 vials. I'll be back.
Yeah. Well, luckily there's only one blood test for me a year. That's 13, and then a lot of months are only 3.
If my fortnightly one you do once a year.
Well, I do it once a month. but the 13 vials is on like November or something.
Well, it's an event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every fortnight.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know how interesting that is. Sorry, guys. Okay.
Sorry. It's just like a very loud vehicle pulling into my drive, and I have no idea.
Did you guys not plan this?
No. Might be Jerry.
No.
Yeah.
Monster Energy. It might be Richie. Unless I won a brand new V8 or something. It sounds like a motorbike. I'm like, oh, I'm going to sell this and pay the mortgage. So, what was I going to ask you? Jeez, that whatever that is made me forget.
We're talking like current mental health. Is that the
Oh
track
yeah,
we're on?
no, actually, that's what I wanted to ask you about your transplant when you were 29. So that's obviously you've had one and that didn't work. So when you were going into the second one, was that like how much stress was running through you? Like what was that like for you?
That was actually liberating, the second one. It was
Really?
fine. Yeah, because even though you're getting a lot of awful stuff done to you, it's towards a good goal. It's really awful when you're just on the downward curve and everyone's just testing to see how ruined you are.
Yeah.
And that all the pain is worse because you're in a bad headspace. So it was actually really cool. They called me while I was at a practice for Shed the Tool Tribute.
Oh, nice.
And I said to the lady, can I finish my practice before I head up? Shows where my mine was at the time. Your priorities. But no, I was in a really positive spot because I didn't think I was going to get it. 9 years had gone past. I was like, and this country is so low on organ donation. And I'd already had one. I'd essentially written myself off and was starting to get used to just being kind of a slug of a man. I'd go and do these shed gigs and then 5 days to recover after that kind of thing. And nowadays I'll come out and do comedy and it's only a day and a half to get over it.
Yeah, that's great.
All right.
Especially for those not paid gigs. That's so worth it.
In fact, it's a bit less work, You're up stage 6-10 minutes, whereas
that's why I feel so guilty and I start overacting when I'm on there. This should be harder.
Give them their money worth.
Because you also, like, I always forget as well, like, kidney transplants for some people are like, I'm going to give you a kidney and this will be on this day. But for a lot of people, it's like, come in now.
Yeah.
We got one.
Yeah.
Like, come get it before we give it to the next on the list.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah, if you missed a call for too long, they just skip you. Yeah.
Because it's got to stay fresh.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's, you forget, like, as someone who hasn't been through that, like, personally, like, obviously my grandmother went through that as well, but, like, I was young, so I was like, I don't know, where's Nana? They're like, oh, she's back in hospital. I was like, oh, again. They're like, no, it's good this time. You forget that this thing just, you've literally got minutes to process what's going on, you know what I mean, and get there and
yeah, but I think you have more time to process when it's a live donor because you're all planning it out.
Because you're planning it out, yeah.
When it's just sprung on you, you just burst into action and you just do everything. Go. Yeah, and that's how it was. You have a bit of time because it's a long trip from New Plymouth to Auckland.
Oh, true, yeah.
So thinking then is a bit, but after that, you're all just having rendezvous meetings with like the registrars, making the plans.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was an excuse Richie on the very loud. Here he is.
Makes sense.
That's really cool. How'd you get into comedy, bro? Like, what was that?
So when the lockdowns ended, I went out and I was just looking for anything to go to because I'd been inside for however long.
Yeah.
And I found an open mic in the back of a bar in New Plymouth.
Yeah.
And Justin Nye was doing his infamous Pepper Potts, Tony Stark.
Right.
But where he, for the listeners, he gets somebody up from the audience.
Yeah.
And I'd had a couple of cocktails at that time, so I put my hand up for it. And he got me. There's a part where you have to scream when you're dying. I did my best metal scream for that bit. But afterwards, the comedy community from New Plymouth were like, "Oh, that was really good. We thought that you'd stitched it up." And they invited me to come and have a go. So 3 months later, I got up and did my first set. Yeah.
So that was a gig where me and Cage were also on then, right?
Yes. Yeah. You guys were.
Yeah.
Before I knew you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, I gotta go watch that back because
right. Yeah.
I didn't put two and two together.
Ah,
certainly.
yeah.
Alex Neil's funny about how he approached Cage approached you after your first time.
Did Cage approach me after my first time then?
You said Kels instead because Alex Neil was like workmate there, like went to high school. She's like, oh, like I heard your name on. I was like, what? And then you were like, yes. And then afterwards, Kels, he was real good. He came up to me like, didn't know.
Oh, did I say Kels instead of?
Yeah, I was like,
oh yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Instead of Justin, I did. Yeah. That's okay. I gotta own up, guys. At the time, I didn't know Justin that well at the time, and there's an Asian dude in New Plymouth whose name is Kelvin, and I did a bit of a racism.
That's all right because as I recall,
really sorry.
Curtis
not
got
that keen for
Justin's
this to go
name
out
wrong.
on a broadcast either, but I did it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, at that gig, Curtis got Justin's name wrong. I think twice. At
on
least.
stage.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I feel slightly better.
He introduced him as Jason.
Right. Okay. It happens.
Yeah.
His name fluff was in Hastings when you got introduced as Baron Belvedere von Lemon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if the people at home can hear you.
Yeah. No one knows what you're saying, Kels.
So
Yeah. I'll swap out when we're done with Callum here. When
so how long
Richard comes
was
on.
how long ago was your first gig?
March 21st, 2021.
Wow. So
May 21st, sorry. Yeah.
May 21st, and so what are we now?
So-
November. So a year and a bit later, you are at the finals of the Royal Comedy Quiz, which is nothing to be sneezed at. That is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that's good.
Absolutely incredible feat to go through. And of course, in Palmy, you are also notoriously known as the guy in the morph suit for the Palmy comedy
I did
scene.
that once.
I know,
Yeah.
and it's just stuck.
Oh, sorry, twice. I did it at Pete's as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like the next night or
Yeah. It was
that
a phase.
That was one of the freakiest shows I've. The first time you did it at the Globe was on Globe. We're on Globe One,
yeah.
Which for
Yeah.
those who haven't been there is like the big theatre there. It's 205 seats.
Yeah, big raised stage.
Big raised stage.
Black on black with the curtains in the stage.
And so I'm standing there. I think it was with Siobhan or someone else. I can't remember who it was. Tracy. It was with Tracy. And you must have got there before us.
Yeah.
Is all I can figure.
I turned up about 40 minutes before. Well, I went in as soon as I could.
Yeah,
and then
I saw
got
you for a
changed.
brief second and then
Yeah.
you just kind of disappeared.
And then I just stood in the back curtain. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm standing there and sorry, if it wasn't Tracy.
I think it was Amber.
It was Amber, yes. So and Amber and we Scottish Amber was like, there's someone over there. And now this was a while before the show, and you're already in the suit. And she's like, "There's someone over there." And I'm looking in the greyness of the other side of the stage, the darkness. And I'm like, "No, there isn't." She's like, "Look, right there." And she's pointing, and there's just this figure like this, like arms up, like standing there, not moving. And I'm like, "It must be like a mannequin." Because you just weren't moving.
Yeah, I got really locked knees that night. Yeah.
And then suddenly you would move just a little bit, like just sort of adjust your shoulders or something.
Yeah.
And we just about pissed our pants. Honest to God.
Yeah.
And we're going, who the fuck is that? And
Who else? Come on. A 5'6". Who makes a 5'6" mannequin when you have a choice?
so we're like, we're head counting people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was kind of
missing?
I was keeping track of like, all right, who's on the bill? Is it
And
Callum?
we're like, it must be
He didn't say
Callum.
anything.
And we're looking at the build and we're like, it looks kind of like Callum's build. And we're just like, what the fuck is going on? And I'm going to her, go over and see who it is.
She was not having
She
a
was
bar of
not
it. She
having
was
it.
freaked out.
And she's like, you go. I was like, get fucked. I'm not
So it ended up Tommy.
Yeah, it was Tommy who came and looked at me in the end. And he
Like-
glared at me for a good 10 seconds and then just left.
It was amazing. It was amazing. But what
Never
amazed
mind
me-
that if it is a person, he could talk to you.
But,
He never tried.
No.
He just looked at me.
He could have been like, hey, man, what's up?
Yeah.
but what got me is that you weren't exactly on early in the piece.
No, yeah, it was a
You were
long
on-
wait.
you were
I think
on a
I think
while
you're
later.
on third, maybe.
Yeah, it wasn't after the break, but it was not
was
first.
not first.
Yeah.
yeah.
So that was impressive. And then so I go on stage. I was emceeing. So I
No,
go,
Aaron was
Aaron
emceeing.
was.
Aaron was
yeah.
emceeing. I was on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think you was second. Keegan and you, I think, were
That
the
sounds
two
about
before
right.
me. Yeah.
But I just remember there being this moment of like, it must be Callum. because he's not here.
Yeah.
Let's just see what happens when he gets brought on.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Right. It was a perfect moment because Aaron was like looking down at his running order. And seeing who's next, and meanwhile you're like inching along, and we all notice that and laugh. And then he's like, "Hey, come on, guys! I can't remember everybody's name, because he still hasn't clocked you."
He thought everyone was laughing at him looking at the paper. Yeah.
No, sorry, I remember now. Yeah, because he comes back, and someone's on. He comes back, and he's like, "Where's Callum? He's next." And we're like, we think he's there, but we don't know. So he's like, okay.
I didn't know that.
And because we just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, we have no clue what's going to happen next. Whether you're going to go, bah, it's me, or whether you're just going to keep inching along closer to us, and you just weren't there. Do you know what I mean? So it was absolutely amazing. So it was far out. That was funny.
It's just a perfect moment as he first notices you. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's like, are you on next, or are you?
Yeah, he wasn't sure if it was me or just something else was happening. Yeah.
He's like, all right, well, Callum Wagstaff. And I think my other favorite part is that when you finished, you walked off the opposite side of the stage with the mic, and then realized and came on and did an extra joke.
I didn't realize it was part of it. Hoani actually told me that was the first time he ever saw me.
Yeah.
He thought I was a clean comic because it just so happened I didn't swear or anything for that whole set, except for the C word as the punchline at the end of my last joke.
Right.
Yeah.
Although you did say it somewhere, I'm a slutty jar of mustard.
Oh, I did too. Yeah.
Which, it's not the cleanest.
On the verge, maybe. I forgot about that one.
It's a great line. I don't know how much you can incorporate that going forward, but it's a great line.
Never again. It was of the moment.
Yeah. We're gonna get you off shortly. I just want to ask again, everything you've been through, health wise and all that sort of thing. Like mental health, like how are you? Like, are you good? Do you have your days? If you had to give a moment of okay, let me ask this. If you're a young person and you're ill, and you're in Starship or wherever, like, what is your message to them to keep their mental health going, or just to give a bit of hope, like?
So for people going through chronic disease, they're quite varied. So I'll try and keep it sort of general within the chronic fatigue, chronic disease kind of thing. You guys, your superpower is that you can sleep all the time. Wow, if you're in my boat, so some of us sometimes get insomnia and stuff as well, but most of the time you're so ruined that you can always sleep. And I had trouble eating, I had trouble drinking, I had trouble exercising, couldn't move a lot. But if you're in a bad headspace, you can always just just go to sleep. Yeah. And it's always like in the darkest times, it was like, if you want to off yourself, just have a sleep first, and then see how you feel.
Wow.
It was like it was literally you can't leave without having a go at a nap first. Yeah. And it would get that desperate sometimes.
It ties in perfectly to our show, like before you jump.
So 2.5 hours into this 24-hour gig, we've got our first before you jump.
Have a nap.
Before you jump,
that's my before you
go
jump
to sleep.
Go to sleep.
You're absolutely right though, because like those days where I'm really struggling, like especially when I'm like, my wife comes and just finds me lying in bed in the fetal position. She is often just like, just have a sleep.
Yeah.
And then I wake up and it's like I've got that little bit back. Do you know what I mean? Enough energy to just be like, okay.
Yeah.
I can get through this next bit.
Yeah.
I can get through this next bit.
And I think that if you can call it an advantage for chronic fatigue, chronic diseases, is even after you wake up, if you still feel really terrible, you can usually go to sleep again immediately. It's just just use all of your disabilities as advantages for dealing it in creative ways of your own. I would say,
Awesome, man. Hey, look, it's been awesome having you come in. Like, are you sticking around town, or what are you doing?
No, I've got work tonight, so I've got to go home, I've got a nap, and then I'm going to go to the pub.
Nice.
Good times.
Nice. If people want to know more about you, or your social media, what do you?
Not really. My name's
not really. Tough luck. This is all you get.
My name's Callum Wagstaff. You can look me up on Facebook, and it's essentially a personal page that I don't do a lot with. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. Hey, we'd love to get you back on a proper show, like a full.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And chat more and all that sort of thing, because I think there's a lot of people who, young or old, they're going through health stuff and. But not just that, but just like you're a cool dude, you know what I mean? And we can talk some tool.
Yeah, awesome. Always down for some tool.
Yeah, man. Thanks. Okay, so we're gonna swap out everyone at the table now.
I'm gonna sign off for now as well.
All right.
Bring Kels back to the desk. Now I'm gonna switch this mic off as I put it down so it doesn't go crang.
Yeah, that's cool. So just while we swap over.